Hello, my name is Michael Vacher. I work with the 68th RQS on Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and today I'm going to be showing you how to do the modification for the new hook and loop ripcord handle for the reserve on the RA1. What we're going to be doing today is removing this pocket that has the bungee attachment and replacing it with this pocket that has the loop already installed. The tools that you're going to need for this project are a pair of hemostats, an awl, a marking pencil or pen is something that's washable, a stitch picker or a razor blade, whichever your preference, a pair of nippers, an old bent pin, and an octar crimping device. The first thing that we have to do is remove the housing from the pocket attachment. How we're going to do this, we're going to take the awl, we're going to put it in the housing to ensure that the housing cannot be crushed or manipulated. We're going to use that old pin, put it in the crimp portion. We're going to twist left and right. Once that's done, the housing will slide out. The next thing is we're going to take our marking pencil and we're going to mark where this old pocket is in relation to the shoulder pad. So we're going to mark it at the top. Mark it at the bottom. Now we can start removing the handle pocket. On here there are a set of zigzags, one here, and a row of straight stitch down. We also have a row here and here with the straight stitch down. You're going to remove this side first. Use a stitch picker if you feel more comfortable. I personally use a razor blade. To break the back of the stitching. But when using this razor blade, I'm only scraping the stitching on the side that has the pocket which is being removed. Once I get it started, I can break some of that stitching from the inside and work it all the way down till it's open. I'll repeat that process over here. Once the old pocket is removed, you'll need to take your stitch picker or some sort of dull device and get the rest of that stitching out. With the stitching removed, you can take the new pocket, line it up with your old marks. Note that the manufacturer has already put a midway mark to match up with the pocket. If the rig has been washed or is old, this may have faded. It may not be there. That's why you mark. When you're putting this on, you're taking this second row of stitching right here and you are lining it up with the outboard row of stitching on the binding tape. There's going to be two types of stitches that you're using for this project. You're going to be using a straight stitch and a zigzag. We are using E-thread. I am using white E-thread so that I can see the stitch pattern and quality of stitches in this project to show on the new handle. What you have to do for the straight stitch, you start in the middle, you come down to the end, go one stitch over the edge, you come all the way back up, go one stitch over the edge, and then meet back in the middle, following this second row of stitching. Come to the end, one stitch over. I do one extra stitch. I go one stitch back, one stitch over again, so that there are two rows of stitching holding this in place. From here, we will back up. Going all the way to the top. Ensuring you go one stitch over. Again, I come one stitch back, go one stitch over again. Trim my excess out. And I go all the way back down to the middle. So now I have 2 rows of stitching holding that in place. From here we move to the zigzag machine. We're going to sew 2 zigzag stitches. One up here, one down here. You need to mark at approximately 3/4 of an inch and 3/4 of an inch down here from the edges of your binding tape. This stitch pattern comes from a 199 RB2A1 or a 308 model machine. These machines have a 2-over stitch pattern in their zigzag. What we're going to do is we're going to start here at the edge up to an 1/8 of an inch off, but preferably towards closer to the edge. We're going to start with a tight pattern. We're going to go wide, and then we're going to go tight again. So we'll start tight. We'll go wide, go tight again, and move down to the bottom. Again, we start tight, go wide, go tight again. So as you can see, I now have a zigzag at the top, I have a zigzag at the bottom, and I have 2 rows of straight stitch coming down. We're going to go back to the straight stitch machine. Fold the new pocket over, and we will line up our match marks. And we are simply going to repeat this process one more time. We'll line up the binding tapes so that they are even with each other. If you look here, there should be at least enough space for 1 stitch over between your pocket binding tape and your chest strap. Your 1 stitch over should not take you into your chest strap. Again, go 1 stitch over the edge. I go 2 stitches over. And we work the machine in reverse. So go back the way we came. Again, we get that 1 stitch over that is not going into the chest strap. I do the 2, and we work back up to the middle. We go back to the zigzag machine. To do our final stitching. Again, we start at the edge. Start with a tight pattern. Go long, go tight again to make a 3/4 inch pattern. Once you have your stitching in place, the last thing that you need to do is reattach your housing. You slide the ocular clamp over, ensuring that the crimp portion is faced to the outside and is on the solid portion of the housing towards the opening, not on the flexible portion of the housing. When you go to crimp this, ensure that you do not crimp so hard that you pinch through the material. Get your clamp in place. You place your awl inside the housing so that when you crimp down, you cannot crush the housing. And with that, you are done. I have one new handle pouch. That's all there is to it.